everywhere. GBS.
Well, a very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us on GBS Morning Extra. It is the 21st day of the month of August 2019. You're right in time for our bulletin this morning. And for any comments, suggestions, or opinion, please do send that to our number. That's 21144. You can also keep the conversation going on Twitter. That's hashtag GBS Morning Extra. You can get also to watch this very episode on YouTube and Twitter. Now we start with some local news where President Uhuru Kenyatta has asked Team Kenya to the African Games to make the country proud through excellent and disciplined performance. The president spoke during the handing over ceremony of the national flag at State House, Nairobi, wishing the Kenyan contingent success at the 12th African Games in Morocco.
I'm the captain for this lovely team, and we're happy, we are ready, and we promise you that as we go to Morocco, we will do our best. This team, they promised me that, pass this message, that we will come back home as champions.
Kenya, Your Excellency, will be represented by 234 athletes, 22 from 22 disciplines, 4 team sports, 18 individual sports. For the first time, 17 of these disciplines will serve as the Tokyo Olympic Games 2020 qualifiers. Yeah? And that's why we are so expectant from the team that is going. We have collectively, Your Excellency, put together the largest and most diverse team that Kenya has ever presented to the Africa Games. We're really grateful for your support, your direct and continued intervention with the establishment of the Sports and Social Development Fund that was established by yourself, Your Excellency, to ensure that infrastructure and costs that are associated with the management of sports, culture, and heritage are done well, efficiently, and effectively.
We congratulate you for your individual, first and foremost, and collective success at being those who have come out on top of your brothers and sisters and who have been given the opportunity to represent not yourselves, but to represent your country in Morocco in this 12th edition of the Africa Games. Ni hongera kwenu kwa sababu ni juhudi yenu. Ni juhudi yenu. And mine today is just to ask that as you proceed to Morocco, proceed and represent us with pride. Proceed and represent us with your excellence. Proceed and represent us with your discipline. And show Kenya for what it truly is. You do your part. Train hard. Be focused. Play fair. Play clean.
Well, and indeed, the games have already kicked off, and Kenya has already begun to make us proud, winning gold and silver medals, respectively, especially for the women's volleyball team settled for a silver when they reached the finals with the Egyptian team. Now, back home, the Ghetto Classic is the flagship program of the Art of Music Foundation. It is a community program that involves over 300 children in Korogocho, one of Kenya's biggest slums that is home to about 300,000 urban poor and over 600 more children in 10 satellite areas around Nairobi, 1 in Kiambu, and 4 in Mombasa through the Link Up program. The initiative uses music education to provide the youth with opportunities to better themselves and their community. They do this by instilling in them the life skills that come with the discipline of studying art music. The program also provides them with income-generating opportunities. Yesterday, the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, attended an event by the initiative and lauded the work done by the organizers.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it's been said before by none other than Plato that music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. And that's why we are delighted to all be here today to celebrate the great work that's being done in transforming the lives of musicians in our country.
I was impressed by the holistic nature of this center and the different activities that take place in this space. The music rooms, the auditorium, the primary school, the library, basketball and football pitches are all safe spaces for children to be children, to play, to learn, to spend time doing things children enjoy. Music is said to be key in creating a better start for children. Making music is also one of the most valued activities in many communities. Music education helps develop passion and creativity in our children. It's directly linked to improving the academic performance of our children. This Ghetto Classics program is therefore not only about making music, which is a valuable talent in itself, it's about building self-confidence, discipline, and nurturing a spirit of teamwork.
Well, moving on to a matter that has affected our community or our society largely at this time, 12 members of parliament have condemned the decision by the government to revoke the operational license of some betting companies. Led by the Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala, the lawmakers said that the directive has rendered some Kenyans jobless. Speaking at the same event, Embakasi MP Babu Owino has threatened to mobilize football fans, that's AFC and Gor Mahia fans, and betting enthusiasts across the country to march peacefully and eject the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, from office. He accused the CS of applying the law selectively, leaving companies where he had interest in to operate while suspending the mainstream betting companies.
So many youths in this nation, so many university and college students have been complaining, crying, gnashing their teeth for not getting sufficient or enough money to pay their school fee. This betting was assisting in provision of employment. Those people who are employed in various betting companies, those people are now jobless. Where will they get jobs? The youths that were using this opportunity to pay fees, where will they get the money from? We know well that the law dictates that there's a rule called Nemodat quot habed, that says that you can never spend what you don't have, and you can never pickpocket a naked man. This is a willing buyer, willing seller thing. Let it be known to the cabinet secretary that from next week, we are going to mobilize youths in this nation Gor Mahia fans, come out. AFC fans, come out. We are going to peacefully demonstrate against you. We don't want to put president in this matter because we know that there are specific interests from specific individuals. Personally, betting company assisted me in paying my school fee. I graduated in my actuarial science degree because of betting. So there's nothing that we can be told that betting is bad.
Away from that, on to some politics now. The Nandi Senator Samson Cherigei was yesterday released after was arrested and released on a personal bond. The legislator was arrested in his Elgon View estate home in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, over alleged incitement remarks. Detectives on Tuesday morning raided the home of the senator, where they arrested him over remarks of incitement during a campaign rally. But indeed, one would say it's too early for politicians to begin uttering words that are seemingly incitive. And if you listen to the bites by the legislator, then one would only be left to wonder. Still on political matters now, to the coastal region, Malindi MP Aisha Jumwa is at it again. This time, she's accusing the Orange Democratic Movement Party of planning to humiliate the Kilifi governor, Amason Kingi, through the Mombasa governor, Ali Hassan Joho. Let's listen in to these remarks.
Na mimi nataka nikwambie hivi, yale yanaopangwa huko na hao watu wa ODM huko Mombasa na hawa kina watu wetu hapa ma MCAs, nataka nikwambie vita si vya Ganda na Abdurrahmani, wanakupiga vita wewe vibaya sana. Na wanasema lazima wajitahidi ili wamvalishe nguo Ali Hassan Joho. Kwa hivyo hii Ganda wanaiweka kama ambaye tuko kwa lab, na wanataka sisi tuifanyie experiment kama Joho ana nguvu ama Aisha Jumwa ana nguvu. Nataka niwaambie hivi, mimi sina nguvu, lakini aliye ndani yangu ambaye ni Mungu wangu ninayemwabudu katika roho na kweli ana nguvu za kuwashinda hao wote. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niwaambie wale watu wako kwenye biashara, manake wanajua hawaviwezi hivyo vya Ganda, lakini wako kwenye biashara. Kitu kimoja ambacho mimi kilinichukiza zaidi, nilimwambia kwa nini tumvishe nguo Joho na hapa tuna wetu wanaitwa Amason Kingi. Mbona wao hawamtaji huko? Wanasema Joho yeye ndio mkubwa wa Amason Kingi, kwa hivyo Joho ndio kusema. Nataka niseme hivi, nimewataja, siogopi mtu na muogopa Mungu peke yake. Nilikuja katika ulimwengu huu na siku moja nitarudi. Nilikuja bila chochote na nitarudi bila chochote. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niwaambie, hapa Ganda tukatae, na nawaambia hapa Ganda tufanye nini? Tukatae kufanywa sisi ndio tunaweza kufanyiwa experiment hapa ya nani na nani. Tunahitaji kiongozi, hatuhitaji kuambiwa tupimane nguvu na mtu yoyote.
Well, away from local politics now to international news across the borders. A record number of people, that's about 6.9 million people, or more than 60% of South Sudan's entire population, do not know where their next meal will come from. That is according to the World Food Organization, as the humanitarian community marks the World Humanitarian Day observed every year on the 19th of August. The food crisis in South Sudan stems from the ongoing conflict which started in 2013. Poor harvest, the displacement of millions of people within and outside the country, economic crisis, and years of people's assets being depleted. Despite a peace agreement signed in September 2018 and some improved access for humanitarian workers into difficult-to-reach areas, hunger continues to deepen and has now reached unprecedented levels in the country, with more and more people struggling to survive. This year, food insecurity has increased for various reasons, including delayed rainfall, drought conditions over the most of East and the Horn of Africa, and displacement. This is coupled with economic stagnation due to the longer due to the prolonged delayed rain. Assessment carried out by humanitarian agencies in June this year showed that as many as 21,000 people, particularly in the worst hit areas of Longley Lake and Upper Nile regions, face famine-like conditions. Without immediate food assistance, their situation is expected to deteriorate even further. The United Nations General Assembly designated 19th of August as a World Humanitarian Day to mark the date in 2003 when 22 people died in the bombing of the United Nations headquarters in Baghdad, Iraq. It aims to honor aid workers and to remind the nation of the world of their obligation to protect those who have devoted their lives to providing aid for others.
Kenya in Kakuma, and I benefited from WFP service. Now I work with WFP South Sudan. I love to work with the community. I love to deliver good quality service to the community. They deserve safety. They deserve integrity. They deserve dignity from me.
Still on the World on the World Humanitarian Day, in honor of the World's Humanitarian Day, we feature the story of a dedicated female peacekeeper with a passion to contribute to the peace and stability in Somalia. The African Union Mission in Somali, AMISOM Corporal Emily Kiasimire, is an ambulance driver who has a great passion and stomachs great bravery in evacuating patients from war-torn areas. All soldiers who want to drive in Somalia must pass a mandatory driving test to be allowed to handle a military vehicle. Corporal Kiasimire developed an interest in humanitarian work while working as a records clerk in the Special Force Command in her home country, Uganda. Since her deployment to Somalia, the female peacekeeper has been picking up injured soldiers and civilians evacuated from various parts of the country and in need of urgent medical care, transporting them to the AMISOM Level 2 hospital.
Me, I love driving. Yeah, driving is my passion. It takes my stresses away. Whenever I'm driving, I'm happy. Yeah, and being in a mission area, I love saving people's lives.
In a conflict environment where the number of casualties arising from security-related incidents is high, an ambulance driver plays a critical role as his or her actions can to some extent determine the survival of the injured. Corporal Kiasimire is well aware that time is of essence and the injured must be rushed to hospital within the shortest time possible.
I love evacuating patients, mostly those ones in critical condition. Yeah, when I bring them like on that speed, they work on them and tomorrow I see them moving very healthy. It's my happiness. I feel happy. The challenges I face here as a female ambulance driver is that I'm always on standby, 24 hours standby. However, I see like it gives me chance to keep alert being in a mission area. I'm always ready to respond on any emergency that may come out.
Over the years, AMISOM has been lobbying for more female peacekeepers to underpin the important role women play in peace building and to serve as champions in protecting women's rights in Somalia.
The humanitarian situation then, in 2008, was very dire. There were no hospitals to talk about. There was gross insecurity. There was the capital Mogadishu was isolated from the rest of the country. There was a lot of lawlessness in the areas outside. which wouldn't allow any humanitarian activities. The only hospital we had at the time that was functional was our level 2 hospital here in the airport. After 2011, 2012, the Al-Shabaab was expelled from Mogadishu. Therefore, there was a peace dividend that allowed humanitarian activities to spring up. So this Mogadishu became a springboard for humanitarian activity. As time went on, we have opened up MSR, Mogadishu, Baidoa, Mogadishu, Barawe, Mogadishu, Joha, Mogadishu, Beletwain, allowing humanitarian aid to flow. The war we are fighting against the Al-Shabaab is counterinsurgency. The population is the most important element. If we don't take care of them, then they don't need us. We need to make sure they cooperate with us. And the only way you can do it is by understanding, showing understanding of their needs. The job we do is a service. It's a service for humanity. So somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. So if we don't do it, then imagine the numbers of people who are at risk dying.
Well, indeed, as the world celebrates the Humanitarian Day, we can truly remember those who give their lives and sacrifice their life to protect others and to make the life of other people better in such dangerous areas of the world. Now, moving on now to other matters, the UN spokesperson said that Ebola has now spread to South Kivu province in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Speaking to reporters at the New York headquarters, spokesperson Stephen Dujarric noted that the new cases were confirmed in the village of Chowe Mwenga, south of the town of Bukavu. He said that women previously identified as a contact person, 2 people who had contracted Ebola traveled from the Beni to South Kivu last week. She also and her 17-month-old baby have now died from the disease, and her 7-month-old baby is receiving treatment.
Republic of the Congo, Ebola has now spread to South Kivu, with cases confirmed in the villages of Chowe Mwenga, that's just south of the town of Bukavu. A woman previously identified as a contact for 2 people who had contacted Ebola, traveled from Beni to South Kivu last week. She and her 17-month-old baby have now died from the disease, and her 7-month-old, and her 7-month-old baby is receiving treatment. The World Health Organization reports that rapid response teams were sent to the village. They quickly isolated and treated people with Ebola, traced contacts, began vaccinating, and raising awareness about the disease. In North Kivu and Ituri provinces, the outbreak transmission continues with an average of 81 new cases per week. There are currently no confirmed cases of Ebola outside of the DRC.
This comes just barely a fortnight after 2 drugs were discovered by the World Health Organization that actually can counter the disease, but are still under more research, but have started to be administered to patients suffering from the same in Congo. Now, we move over to some other news across the world. In Brazil now, where refugees from Venezuela visiting Brazil's northern state of Roraima, which borders Venezuela, the UN refugee chief Filippo Grandi said that the international community must do more to avoid thousands of Venezuelans crossing each day, many of them seeking protection. Grandi also thanked the Brazilian government and the people for responding to the needs of Venezuelan refugees and migrants arriving in Brazil every day. The UN High Commission for Refugee Felipe Grandi arrived in Brazil on August 14th for a 4-day visit as part of a mission that included also Chile after some governmental meetings in Brazil. He embarked on the northern state of Roraima, which borders Venezuela, and where the government-led humanitarian response known as Operaco Acolida has been implemented. Grandi visited the temporary shelter sites in Boa Vista and met with several Venezuelans living there.
We discussed with the government how best to ensure that the most vulnerable Venezuelans be included in this operation. Women alone with children, people for whom it is difficult to find a job, people from minorities, from the LGBT community or from indigenous communities. It is very important that also these people receive the same care as everybody else, and the government agrees, and we will work together on that. The countries in the region must not be left alone to deal with the consequences of the Venezuelan crisis, and I am completely committed to making this appeal from here, but also in the next few weeks and months, and to try to rally more international support to respond to the crisis.
And finally, we go to North America, where two Congresswomen, Ilhan Omar and her colleague, says that US President Donald Trump would love nothing more than to use this opportunity meaning their denial to travel to Israel, to pit Muslims against Jewish Americans against each other, as she spoke together with the US Congresswoman Rashid Tlaib in their first public appearance since they were denied travel to Israel. The two are the first Muslim women elected to the Congress, who had planned a trip last week to the Jewish state and the Palestinian territory, but were denied entry.
No, Donald Trump would love nothing more than to use this issue to pit Muslims and Jewish Americans against each other. The Muslim community and the Jewish community are being othered and made into the boogeyman by this administration.
I watched as my mother had to go through dehumanizing checkpoints. Even though she was a United States citizen and proud American.
Well, on that note, we wrap it up for this segment. We now take a short break. My colleague, Kevin Nyariki, will come up next with the sports news shortly.